Welcome to Agape is Love, and thank you for joining us. We are a new evolving ministry, a unity community. Our outreach is a ministry of people for people, people who lovingly serve others in outreach to educate, promote, and provide opportunities for spiritual and community development. We are excited to share this edition of our service with you. Please leave us comments, like, share, and spread the word.
Today I want to share with you, my part of the connection is the tree of life. And it's as seen anew by me, okay, the way that I see the tree of life. So a few weeks ago, I was driving to Arizona to pick up my oldest granddaughter. And if you ever get the chance to meet this amazing young lady, she is a light in this world. And my heart just overflows with love every time I'm around her. She just oozes it, which is amazing. And as I was driving along, because a lot of stuff was going on with me at the time, I had a brain flood, and I always call them a brain flood because it just feels like all this stuff just came through. And this is where I got this talk. And it just all makes sense this way, and it was kind of like downloads. I don't know if you guys get downloads, but I get these downloads. It's just like a flood, and I have to start typing, or I pick up my phone and I start talking to my phone. People are, what is she doing? But I have to record it because I know I'm going to lose it if I wait 20 minutes. So this is where this came to me. So I don't know that it's a coincidence at all that all of this came at the time with what was going on in my life. And we'll get into that more in a little bit. But I am in the midst of taking ministerial classes, and with the urban ministry through Unity, and it's an amazing ministry program. And the thing about these classes is they're very personal. You get a concept, you learn about it, and then they tell you to turn it inside. So you get a chance to wear it and live with it. And in one of my classes, they asked us to come up with an affirmation. And this clicked with the tree of life. My affirmation just flowed right out of me. I didn't even have to try. As my faith grows deeper roots and stronger branches as my world broadens. And I'm like, okay, where is this coming from, right? I think I hit 2 here. Skipping past that one. Okay. So a few years ago, not a few years ago, lots of years ago, a few years into my recovery, I decided to make a geographical change. Now, a lot of us do that, right? Some of us are, different reasons. But I decided to do this. And I lived in Central Valley in Fresno, and I had been with my family, around my family always. And if you ask my mom, which has passed away a long time ago, she would have said I was the glue of the family. And I think I was, what was left over, because I gave a lot. I helped a lot. I was the one that if anybody needed somebody, you came to me. So I have one sister. She's my little sister. Her name is Shauna. And when I announced that I was moving across to this, to Tennessee, it was devastating for her and for me, because pretty much I was her mom growing up. We had a very close relationship. And I was very codependent with all my family, but especially with my little sister. So her and I started going to counseling. And this is where I actually think the seed was planted for the tree of life, which came to me later. Because when I went to this counseling session, and it just made sense that everything was connected. The therapist told me that my feeling of loss was because of how much I loved. So the greater you love someone, the more you will feel lost when they're gone, or they're not a part of you, or, and this was 20-something years ago, so texting, video chatting on cell phones really wasn't in the works yet, and so there was a very big sense of loss for me. But it came to mind that this is where the seed was planted, because as above, so below. That's like what's in heaven is on earth. The yin and the yang, everything, it's all connected. It's not separate. We actually are all connected. So there's so many other terms you can talk about it, but I learned more about this over the years. And the tree of life. Started looking for the tree of life for signs to understand what I was learning. So the tree of life, if you have never seen one, and I think a lot of people in recovery have, they're usually, it looks like it's a picture of a circular, and you see the roots really spreading out, and then the ground's cut off, and then usually see big branches at the top. Now that's not always the way it's pictured, but for the most part, that is how it's pictured. And the tree of life is popular, and it's a universal symbol that represents multiple different things across various cultures and religions. And this symbol does not belong to one specific religion, okay? It's just used in different cultures. In Christianity, the tree of life is mentioned even in the book of Genesis. It's the tree that grows in the Garden of Eden, and it's the source for eternal life. And some people believe that it is the symbol of the humanity free from corruption and sin, while others believe it represents love. And the tree is believed to have healing properties, and its fruits grants immortality. In Buddhism, the tree of life is also known as the Bodhi tree, and it's believed that's the tree of enlightenment, where the Buddha sat under it and he reached his enlightenment. And it's seen also as a very sacred symbol. In Islam, the tree of life is also known as the tree of immortality in the Quran. And it appeared in Eden and is the tree from which Adam and Eve ate after Allah had forbidden them to do so. In Judaism, the tree of life represents what sustains and nourishes life. And even in Celtic beliefs, they have the tree of life it's a prominent symbol still. And they believe the roots represent the other world, and that the trunk represents the mortal world, and it connects the roots and the branches represent the world above, or the heavens. Okay, so we're all connected. Okay, so there's a universal meaning of the tree. That was who uses it, but the meaning is a connection to everything. It symbolizes togetherness and serves as a reminder that you are never alone or isolated, but rather that you are connected to the entire world. Does anybody ever see what is that name of that film, with the little aliens? I can't even remember them. Where they're all sitting there and they're humming and they're all connected, and it's like there's this one people, and they're all a part of something else. So we're going to probably take that out. Sorry. I'll just keep going because I can't remember the name of the movie. Do you remember it? They're green and they're tall, or blue and they're tall. Okay. So with the tree of life, the roots dig deep and they spread into the earth, and they accept nourishment from Mother Earth, and then that nourishment goes up into the trunk and into the branches, and it creates the seeds for eternal life. So as a Reiki master, I use this a lot, this symbol of the tree of life, in my meditations, because when I'm working with people, I have to ground myself first, because I don't want to accept, whatever I'm trying to help them through. I want it to be fed into the world and connected to everybody else. So I ground myself as part of, and I spread my imaginary roots, and they go down, and they're really not imaginary, but I spread them down, and I allow their energy to pass through me and out of them and out of me. So in ancestry, family, and fertility, the tree of life says that a family grows and expands through many generations. And this symbol also is about fertility, and it's a way to keep growing through the seeds, because trees produce seeds, either seeds or saplings. And the growth and the strength, they spread through the roots deep into the soil, and they stabilize. The roots are meant to stabilize the tree so that it doesn't topple over. And usually with most trees, whatever you see on top is how big the spread of the roots is as well on the bottom. Trees can weather the toughest storms, which they are such a prominent symbol for strength, right? So they start out as a small, delicate sapling, and they grow over time into large, giant trees. We just recently bought a home with a lot of oak trees. They're huge, and it's beautiful. There's all these little saplings, and I'm hoping to replant them. I'm not really sure if I'm going to get to it, but I'd love to move them and just make a big driveway full of these beautiful oak trees. So individually, the trees are all unique, just like us, right? Everybody has their own branches, everybody has their own roots. Some people grow, close to the wall. Some people, it's like everybody's individual. So the growth is unique in human life, being as the different experiences shape the way we grow, different experience, different lives, different places shape the way the trees grow. And of course, for the immortality and rebirth, the trees lose their leaves and they seem to be dead during the winter, at least most trees, not all trees, but they seem to be dead during the winter. And then through the nourishment in the roots coming back up, they grow new leaves for the summer and the spring, in the spring and the summer. And they also carry the seedlings out. So as a symbol of peace, trees have been a relaxing presence as they stand tall and still while the leaves flutter in the breeze, and they serve as a reminder for the unique, calming feeling that everyone gets from trees. I know I do. I love hearing the wind blow through the trees and the rustle of them, and I love in the fall stepping on the tree leaves as I walk, and the dead leaves, because the crunch is so cool. So, as you may have guessed, I've been a 12-stepper now for a couple of decades. And I know usually by now when something's going on, my pot gets stirred a little bit. So when this drive happened and all this stuff was going on with me and this download came, I knew that I had to talk about this tree of life. My tree of life was different, and I had to understand it. And they call this the tree of addiction. So my roots were where I came from. There was, they talk about shame. There was a lot of dysfunction. There was a lot of pain. There were many addictions. There were, there was abuses of almost every fashion. So before I could even come out into the world where my trunk was, all these things were part of my tree of life. And what happens when we start out with roots like that and come up through the trunk, which I believe symbolizes the family of origin, the things that are around us, because it's like when they can slice a tree open and they look at the rings, they can actually tell what happened at any particular, so like 10 years ago, there was a really bad fire and it burnt this side, it came from this, they can tell things by these rings. So I feel like this is also part of the trunk of our tree of life, is all these things that happened and stirred. And then our branches come out and we have addictions. We have gambling, we have sex addiction, we have alcoholism and drug addiction. There's so many addictions out there anymore. I don't even know, how to count them all. But this is what comes out when my roots are rooted in this shame and pain and hurt, and I come up through this, right? So the leaves sprout, the new cycle of life, and then they die, and they're shedding their old stuff. So this is what I'm seeing. I'm just describing my tree of life, addiction, really. So with the recent loss of someone in my family of origin, I still have a very fresh cut going on. And I'm trying to figure out in my own way with this tree of life and this connectedness, how do I grow? How do I keep going? How do I navigate through this, thinking that I don't know why my mind thought this person was going to be around for a long time. Just kind of, you think somebody's always going to be there, and you don't really realize when they're not, that they're not going to be there, and then one day they're not. So we stay connected. We have all of this running through us. And we have to find a way to stay connected. So for me, here are some clues. All of my steps must include mindful balance in order recovery. I have to not only think about staying in recovery, I have to think about my self-care. I have to think about the halt. I constantly, am I too hungry, too angry, too lonely, too tired? All of these have to be, I have to have this balance in order to move through. And I am a master gardener, so I've been trained to know things about gardening, right? So fertilizer, all these roots down here of mine that were painful and hurtful and didn't really give me the best start in life, I am going to feed them some fertilizer. Now, it's interesting that fertilizer is mostly made of poo, and being master gardener, I know that, but it's so cool because I'm going to nourish them through the ground, and that nourishment will feed up and transform me. And it works because it's all about the nourishment. When you're a master gardener, you know that if your ground is good, you can grow anything, right? So, and the shedding at the top, I'm going to let go. If it's ready to go, it's time to go. You know, I wasn't really ready for this person to leave my life. But it wasn't my choice. It was time to go. And I can still love and not have that person right standing next to me or answer the phone. When you're a master gardener, you also know that you can trim the trees, right? So if we have addiction over here, you can actually trim. Just remember, it's a balance thing, because if you take more than 25% at any given time, at any given season, you could kill the whole tree. So you have to be balanced in what you do. Take some off of here or work some with that. Trim it so that it doesn't go this way anymore. You know, you can do all of those things. We cannot cut out the roots. This is the part that scares me the most. I wish I could. I wish I could go to every person I know and cut those roots out for them. Because I believe that their lives could have been a whole lot different, especially I know mine could have, had they not been rooted the way they were in my tree of life. But there's nothing we can do about that. So what we've got to do is fertilize it and change it. We have to start where we are and move on from there. I am living, breathing proof that we are connected. The therapy session I talked about with my sister, you know, we went to several different therapy sessions, and those seeds were being planted. I didn't know they were being planted, but they are some of the biggest trees now that I have ever felt in my life. And my sobriety allows me to learn the truth of who I really am. And my higher power loves me even when I'm not all that I think that I should be or I want to be. My higher power loves me anyway. That trip I was telling you about to pick up my oldest granddaughter, when my brain flooded and I heard this talk, would have never taken place if I had not taken that move to Tennessee in 1998. You see, because the person that went with me was her mother, and she was 15 at the time. And that's where she met her father. That would have never happened. I would not be standing here today. And this beautiful person would not be in my life and in the lives of other people lighting up their lives. Because she would have never been born. So we are all the tree of life as life. And connection is all around us, through us, and as us. And I want to say thank you, God. Thank you for these lovely people around me, for their strength, for their willingness to be a part of this connection and feel together. And it's like we know each other, and we're so blessed to have this connection. And we want you to feel this connection, and we want this connection around the world, God, and have everybody that's listening share it with somebody and know that we're thinking of them, we love them, and we are them, and we appreciate them as well. Thank you.